In the quaint little town of Willowbrook, life flowed at a gentle, predictable pace. Nestled between rolling hills and a shimmering river, the town was known for its vibrant gardens and cheerful residents. Every day felt like a page out of a storybook, except for today. The air was charged with an unusual energy and anticipation of something extraordinary. This was the day Wilbur, the clumsy yet well-meaning wizard, decided to brew his first love potion. Wilbur's curiosity often led him into comical predicaments. With a nose buried in ancient tomes and a mind bubbling with experimental spells, he was the town's lovable eccentric. Today, he stood in his cluttered workshop, a small, cozy space filled with shelves of potion ingredients and spell books. His eyes sparkled with excitement as he carefully mixed the final ingredients into a bubbling cauldron. The potion shimmered with a magical aura, and Wilbur couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. This was his moment to bring a touch of magic to Willowbrook. As Wilbur prepared to bottle his masterpiece, a sudden sneeze caught him off guard. With a clumsy flail of his arms, the potion slipped from his grasp and tumbled through the air, its glowing contents spilling across the town square below. The potion splashed onto cobblestones, forming a glittering puddle that slowly seeped into the ground. Unbeknownst to the villagers going about their day, a magical transformation was underway. Mrs Petunia, the town's beloved florist, was arranging a display of roses when she suddenly felt an inexplicable warmth in her heart. Her eyes landed on Mr Grumbles, the grumpiest old man in town, who was hobbling past her shop with his usual scowl. To everyone's astonishment, Mrs Petunia's face lit up with a radiant smile, and she began to follow Mr Grumbles, her heart racing with newfound affection. The effects of the potion spread rapidly. In a matter of minutes, the town square was buzzing with bizarre pairings. Cats were snuggling up to dogs, rival shopkeepers were exchanging compliments, and even the town statue, a solemn knight, appeared to be gazing longingly at the mayor. But the most surprising match was between young Alice, the baker's daughter, and Tom, the shy librarian. For years they had harbored secret crushes on each other, their glances never lingering long enough to convey their true feelings. Now, under the influence of Wilbur's potion, their inhibitions vanished. Alice, with flour still dusting her cheeks, walked straight into the library and blurted out her admiration for Tom. Tom, equally enchanted, responded with a heartfelt confession of his own. The two stood blushing and laughing, realizing that their mutual affection was finally out in the open. As the day progressed, the town descended into chaos. The potion's effects were unpredictable and indiscriminate. Villagers who had never shown a hint of romantic interest in each other were now acting like love-struck teenagers. The butcher and the baker, known for their fierce rivalry, were now serenading each other with heartfelt duets. The town's dogs and cats, natural enemies, were curled up together in blissful harmony. The town square became a scene of comedic confusion. People wandered around in a daze, some laughing, others looking utterly bewildered. A group of children giggled as they watched their stern teacher twirl around in a dance with the usually stoic postman. The atmosphere was light-hearted, but the underlying question loomed large. How long would this madness last? Amidst the chaos, Alice and Tom's budding romance blossomed. They spent the afternoon strolling through the town, sharing stories and dreams they had kept hidden for so long. It was as if the potion had given them the courage they needed to express their true feelings. However, not everyone was as fortunate. Some pairings were downright awkward. Mrs Petunia's infatuation with Mr Grumbles became the talk of the town. The old man, bewildered by the sudden attention, tried to escape her advances, but Mrs. Petunia was relentless. She followed him everywhere, showering him with compliments and flowers. Mr. Grumbles, known for his prickly demeanor, found himself in a predicament he never could have imagined. Realizing the magnitude of his mistake, Wilbur knew he had to act quickly. He rushed to the home of Granny Hazel, the town's wise old woman. Known for her extensive knowledge of potions and remedies, Granny Hazel was the best hope for a solution. Granny Hazel welcomed Wilbur with a knowing smile. She had witnessed many of his magical mishaps over the years and always found them endearing. "Ah, Wilbur," she chuckled, "I see you've brewed up quite a mess this time." Wilbur explained the situation, his voice filled with urgency and regret. Granny Hazel listened carefully, her eyes twinkling with amusement. She rummaged through her collection of herbs and ingredients, muttering to herself as she concocted an antidote. With the antidote finally prepared, Wilbur and Granny Hazel set out to test it. Their first attempt was on Mrs. Petunia, who was still trailing Mr. Grumbles. They sprinkled a few drops of the antidote onto her, hoping it would reverse the potion's effects. But instead of returning to her normal self, Mrs. Petunia's affection shifted once again. This time, she developed a sudden, inexplicable fondness for a stray cat that had wandered into the square. Mr. Grumbles, relieved but still bewildered, hurried away, shaking his head in disbelief. The town watched in both amusement and concern as the antidote seemed to cause more chaos than it resolved. Villagers began to avoid Wilbur and Granny Hazel, fearing the unpredictable effects of their potions. Despite the setbacks, Wilbur and Granny Hazel refused to give up. They returned to Granny Hazel's cottage, determined to perfect the antidote. After several more attempts, each resulting in varying degrees of hilarity, they finally created a potion that they believed would work. With a sense of cautious optimism, they returned to the town square. This time they administered the antidote to Alice and Tom, who had been the only truly happy couple amid the chaos. To their relief, the potion worked perfectly. Alice and Tom remained in love, but without the exaggerated effects of the original potion. Encouraged by their success, Wilbur and Granny Hazel set about administering the antidote to the rest of the town. One by one, villagers returned to their normal selves, albeit with lingering memories of the day's bizarre events. As the sun set over Willowbrook, a sense of calm finally settled over the town. Villagers gathered in the town square, sharing stories and laughter about the day's events. The comical pairings and unexpected romances had brought the community closer together. Alice and Tom, now a couple, stood hand in hand, their faces glowing with happiness. They had discovered that sometimes a little magical chaos was all it took to bring true feelings to the surface. Even Mrs. Petunia and Mr. Grumbles found a new understanding. Though they didn't end up together, they shared a newfound respect for each other. Mr. Grumbles, in particular, seemed a little less grumpy after his unexpected adventure. With the town back to normal, Wilbur breathed a sigh of relief. He had learned a valuable lesson about the power of potions and the unpredictable nature of love. As he walked through the town, villagers waved and smiled at him, their earlier frustrations forgotten. Wilbur knew that his heart had always been in the right place, even if his potions sometimes caused more trouble than intended. And so life in Willowbrook returned to its gentle, predictable pace with a little more love and laughter than before. Wilbur continued to experiment with his magic, but he made sure to keep a close eye on his potions. After all, in a town as charming as Willowbrook, there was no need for a love potion to create a little magic.